Hello everyone. Let's review shlokas 166 and 167 in Lalitha Sahasranamam. Viśvagrāsā vidrumābhā vaiśhṇavī viśhṇurūpiṇī ayonir yoninilayā kūṭasthā kularūpiṇī vīragośhṭhī priyā vīrā naiśhkarmyā nādarūpiṇī viGnYāna kalanā kalyā vidagdhā baindavāsanā. Let's take a look at the meanings of the namas in these shlokas. The first nama here is viśvagrāsā. Vishvam, as we all know, is the universe, the gross objects that we see in the universe. Grāsā means to swallow. So viśvagrāsā means one who devours the universe. So she is the one who is responsible for the wheel of time. We saw that in the previous nama, Vishvabhramanakarini. And it is said that every few cycles, this entire world dissolves, and that's called as pralayam. So when that mahapralayam, the dissolution happens, all the worlds all the way up to Brahmaloka get back into that ultimate reality and it becomes nothing. So viśvagrāsā is the act of dissolution. So she is the one who devours the universe. Vidrumābhā. Vidrumābhā. Vidruma means coral, that is red in color. Abha means appearance or like. So vidrumābhā can be interpreted as she is red in color like the coral. Coral is the pavalam, it's a gem. Another way to look at vidrumābhā is vidrumābhā. V means species, bird, horse, etc. are called as V in Sanskrit. So that represents life. Druma means tree. Abha means appearance. So vidrumābhā can be interpreted as she appears as the tree of life. So what does that mean? If you look at a tree, it may have many branches, but it has only one root. That means that she is the one who's appearing as all the life in this universe. So vidrumābhā means she is the source of life. She is the tree of life. Vidrumābhā can also be interpreted as she is the tree of knowledge. Vaiśhṇavī. Vaiśhṇavī means one who is the energy of Vishnu, who is the Shakti of Vishnu. So Vaishnavi. And if you look at Ashtadasha Shaktipīఠa Stotram, which is composed by Adi Shankaracharya, he says Jwalayam Vaishnavi Devi. So in Kangra in Himachal Pradesh, there is a temple for Jwalamukhi. She is also called as Jwalamukhi. And in there, the goddess is called as Vaishnavi Devi. It is a Mahashaktipeetham. It is believed that the tongue of Sati fell there. And in Jwalamukhi temple, there is really no idol of the goddess. Actually what is available there is just flames. And these flames are naturally occurring. Nobody knows how they are occurring, but the flames are worshipped as the goddess there. Viśhṇurūpiṇī. Vishnu, as we all know, is the god who protects, Mahavishnu. And Rūpiṇī means in the form of, embodiment of. So viśhṇurūpiṇī means she is Vishnu. And we've already seen previous namas. Srishtikartri Brahmarupa Goptri Govindarūpiṇī. When she is protecting, she is in the form of Govinda, who is Vishnu. So she is Vishnu. Ayonir. Yoni is a womb, and womb is the source of life. It is the origin of life. So yoni can be interpreted as origin. A is a negation. Therefore ayoni means she is without origin. And we also know that she is unborn. So she is without origin. Another way to look at ayonir, yoni is also a place or abode in Sanskrit. If we interpret that as a place, if you ask all of us, where are you? We'll give some address and say, this time I am there. Because we are not capable of being in two places at once. Whereas the ultimate reality, one of the fundamental things about the ultimate reality is that it is omnipresent. It can be anywhere and everywhere all at once. And therefore, ayonir means one who is omnipresent. Because there is no one place you can say only here this ultimate reality is. It is everywhere. And therefore, ayonir means not contained or not limited to a place. And therefore, she is omnipresent. That is another way to look at ayonir. Yoninilayā. Yoni and Nilayā. That's the split. Yoni, as we have already seen, is the origin. It's a source for everything. Nilayam means the resting place, a station. That's why we say Rail Nilayam means railway station. That means everything stops there. So Nilayam is a resting place. She is both the source as well as the destination. Kūṭasthā. Kūṭasthā. Kūṭa has multiple meanings, so we can look at each one. The first meaning that we can take about Kūṭa is that Kūṭa is something that is deceitful, something that can trick us. Stha means residing in. So she resides in something that can trick us. And what is that tricks us? We call it Maya. So if you see, all the forms in this universe we have seen are nothing but that ultimate reality manifesting in the different forms. But during the process of creation, there is this effect of Maya, and therefore that awareness of the manifested forms gets constrained by time and space. And therefore, there is an inherent sense of lack, which we call as anavamala, in all the manifested forms. And this Maya, therefore, makes us always feel like we are not good enough. And that is what creates a desire in all of us to go seek something so that we can become complete or we can become full. For some people, that could be power. For some people, that could be approval of others. But this Maya makes us think that we are not good as we are, and that we have to go seek something else to become full, to become happy. And that is the effect of Maya. So, who's responsible for that Maya? It is also her, the ultimate reality, who's responsible for the Maya. So, she is responsible for Tirodhanam, the act of veiling and unveiling. And just like she is responsible for the veil of Maya, she is also the one who decides when that veil has to be lifted. And the Maya is essential because it allows for creation to propagate, right? Because people have desires, then there is Kamadeva's role, and therefore the universe is sustained through the effect of Maya. But when beyond that process, when somebody gets caught in this Maya and is always running after something, then that could lead to misery. And that could take away from the fact that we are good as we are. We are just enough as we are. All we need to do is to uncover that happiness within ourselves. But because of Maya, we always think that our happiness lies outside and we are always running after something. And she is the one who also makes sure that that veil is lifted for us. So she is kūṭasthā. In this context is Maya. Another way to look at Kūtam. Kūtam is the peak of a mountain. So she resides on the peak of a mountain. We have already seen a nama, Sumeru Madhya Shringastha. So she is in the peak of the Meru mountain. So that is another way to look at it. Another way to look at Kūtam is a group. She is in groups of things. That is another way. She is in groups. You can think of it like that. And then we already know she is the triad of reality, right? The experiencer, the experiencing, and the experienced. Everything is her. So that is the three. We know Vagbhava Kūtam, Madhya Kūtam, Shakti Kūtam. She is in those groups. And then she is also the day, night, and the union of day and night, dawn or dusk. Or she is the sun, moon, and the fire. So she is in groups. That's another way to look at it. Kularūpiṇī. So Kulam can be thought of as a clan, a lineage. So those are all Kula. Rupini means in the form of. So she is in the form of Kula. And so if you look at it, there are in the Srividya tradition, in the Sakta tradition, there is all this Kaula Margam where there are lineages for worshipping Shakti. So she is in the form of all of those. That's one way to look at it. The another way to look at Kula, Kula also represents the Sushumana Nadi. It is the central shaft along the spine, and this is where the Kundalini raises. So she is in the form of Kula. That is also another way to look at it. The next nama here is vīragośhṭhī priyā. So the split is vīragośhṭhī priyā. Vīra, as we all know, who are Veeras? Veeras are warriors. In the material world, we think of a warrior as someone who can win over another person. Whereas in spiritual world, a warrior is one who has conquered their senses, who has conquered themselves, who has attained that enlightenment. So Veera are those who have conquered themselves. Goshti means group or company. Priya means fond of. So she is fond of the company of Veeras, of those people who have conquered themselves. The next nama here is Veera. So she herself is a Veera. She is the height of enlightenment, and she is ultimate reality, not subject to anything that any of us are subject to, and therefore she is the height of consciousness, height of wisdom, and therefore she is also Veera. Naiśhkarmyā. Anytime we see nish is always a negation. Karma here is the action and the effect of that action. We call as the law of karma. Every action has a consequence, and depending on the nature of our action, that consequence may result in a punyam, which is a merit, or papam, which is a sin. And she is the ultimate reality who is above the rule of karma, and therefore this does not apply to her. So nish means devoid. So she is devoid of action and effect. That rule doesn't apply to her. So for all of us, if you look at it, because of that sense of lack, we think our happiness is elsewhere, and therefore we are always driven by the action. And the way this works is, if your action is good, you get punyam. If your action is bad, you get papam, which is the sin. And as long as a person has either punyam or papam, and in the rule of karma, the punyam and papam are separate bank accounts. You don't get a net balance for this. So whatever punyam we have done, we can enjoy the results of that. Whatever papam we have done, we have to suffer the consequence of that. If there is, even if for someone, let's say all the papam is erased, they have zero balance for papam, even then they will have to take a birth. If they have punyam, they will have to take a birth in order to enjoy the results of that punyam. And the tricky part there is, when they take a birth to enjoy the results of the punyam, you have to make sure you don't accrue any more papam. If you accrue any papam, then again you have to take a birth. This is why it is a vicious cycle of birth and death. And the only way to end this vicious cycle of birth and death is that your punyam and papam have to be zero at the same time. And the only person who is capable of doing that is Lalitha herself. And our bhakti towards Lalitha is what will allow us to get there. And if you see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Karmanyeva adhikaraste na phaleshu kadachana. So he says, always only do your duty. Do not look at the results, or do not do something just because you want a certain result, because the result is not in our hands. Why is Krishna asking us to do the duty and without any focus on the results? Because every action that we are doing, if we recognize that it's not our action, it's always God is acting through us, then we do not accrue any sin. That is the fundamental rule. This is why we say kayena vacha manas indriyerva buddhyatmanava. We say everything we will give it to Krishna. Karomi yadyat sakalam Narayanayati samarpayami. If every single action we do, if we recognize that that is not our action, that is God's action, then you are in prayer every single minute. So when we do an action with that particular attitude, then we do not accrue any sins. So that's why we are supposed to look at life with limited attachment. It is said that once Narada went to Brahma and he asked, who is a Naishtika Brahmachari? And Brahma said, Krishna is the Naishtika Brahmachari. And at that time, Narada was very surprised. And he said, what? Krishna has so many wives. How can he be the Brahmachari? So then he said, no. Brahma said, no. It is as true as how sage Durvasa is a Nitya Upavasi. Now Narada is even more surprised. And he is saying, what? Sage Durvasa is a Nitya Upavasi? He keeps eating all the time. And because he is so hungry and he keeps eating all the time, he is not behaving like a rishi. That's why he keeps giving all the curses out. How come you're calling that Sage Durvasa as a Nitya Upavasi? So then Brahma said, why don't you go ask Krishna? So then Narada came to Krishna, and at that time Krishna, he searched for him everywhere. Finally, he found Krishna, and Krishna said, oh, I have a tummy ache today. And then Narada said, what happened? He said, no, Durvasa ate too much today, that's why I have a tummy ache. And Sage Narada did not understand that at all. He said, what happened? And then Krishna told him, every time Sage Durvasa eats, before he starts to eat, he says, Krishnarpanam. So everything that he eats is always coming to Krishna. He is not holding anything back. And that's why he is called as Nitya Upavasi. And at that time, Sage Narada understood. It is not about not having something and not eating, but being able to have it and not be attached to it. That is what is called as nishkama. So, naiśhkarmyā, she is above the rule of this action and effect. So, she is devoid of action and effect. Nādarūpiṇī. Nādam means sound. Rūpiṇī means in the form of. So, she is in the form of sound. So, the primordial vibration that resulted in this universe. viGnYāna kalanā. viGnYānam means wisdom or the awareness of the ultimate reality. Kalanā means to enhance. So, she enhances our awareness of that ultimate reality, one who is capable of leading us to that awareness. Kalyā. Kalyā means one who is very capable, who is skillful. You can also think of this as omnipotent. As ultimate reality, she is omnipotent. She is capable of anything and everything. Vidagdhā. Vidagdhā means one who is artful, who is able to do many things. Baindavāsanā. The split is Bindu Asana. Bindu is the top point of the Meru. Asana means seat. So you can think of it as seated on the Bindu, or you can think of it as she is on top of the Bindu. That is another way to look at it. With that, we have looked at the meanings of all the namas in these two shlokas. So let's take a look at a small story related to the nama Vaishnavi. Once upon a time, there was a Brahmin called Ratnakara who was living in southern part of India. Ratnakara was an ardent Devi Upasaka, and he always used to pray towards Devi. Ratnakara had one concern. It is that he did not have children. And so he really wanted at least one child, and he always used to pray to Devi and seek a child. And he was praying for a very long time. Time was passing, but he did not have a child. And one day he was very dejected that he did not have, and therefore he was sitting in front of Devi and pouring his heart out, and he says, I've been praying to you for so long just for one baby. Why are you not answering my prayers? You yourself should be born as a daughter to me. And if you're born as a daughter to me, I will take such good care of you. I will never stand in the way of your wishes. I just really need a baby. Please, show your mercy on me and be born as my daughter. So he had this pouring his heart out that day. It so happened that the next day he found a baby girl, and Ratnakara was really convinced now this is actually the answer from Devi. Right? He was pouring his heart out and asking for a baby. Next day he finds. So that is a direct correlation. So then Ratnakara decided that this is Devi herself and he is going to keep up the promise he made to Devi and raise her well and also never stand in her way and just make sure whatever she wishes will happen. So Ratnakara takes the baby home and he names her Trikūṭa and he raises that girl. And Trikūṭa from a very young age seems to be a very sharp girl, and even when she was very young, she seems to have this bhakti towards Vishnu. So she's always praying to Vishnu, and she's also very capable and intelligent. Therefore, whatever you tell her, she is able to grasp quickly. And therefore, Ratnakara makes sure that she gets all the good masters so that she can learn whatever it is that she wants to learn. So the girl is growing up to be, even at a very young age, very intelligent, very well aware of the scriptures, well aware of all the different sources of wisdom, and she is also great in bhakti towards Vishnu. And Trikūṭa grows up and now she is 9 years old, and Trikūṭa wants to go do meditation and she wants to continue to pray. And you can imagine, no matter how learned, intelligent, etc., for the father it's their own daughter, and being away from the daughter, especially one you really asked for and did so much penance to get, was not easy. But Ratnakara remembered his promise to Devi. He said, if you're born as a daughter, then I will not stop your wishes. And therefore, Ratnakara immediately agreed and said, okay, fine, you can go do the penance. Usually in those days, if you see, girls get married at a very young age. By the time they are 9, 10, they would have married. But Ratnakara defied all those social customs and went ahead and said, okay, fine, you can go do your meditation. So, Trikūṭa goes near the seashore, and now she is constantly meditating. So a little bit of insight into the origin of this baby. So it was at a time where Mahishasura and everybody was killed, and Devi, all the three Devis, Mahakali, Mahasaraswati and Mahalakshmi, those are different from the Lakshmi and Saraswati we know. But the Mahakali, Mahasaraswati, Mahalakshmi, they felt like the adharma or injustice in the earth was increasing, and therefore there needed to be some presence that can contain this. And they decided that they would collectively have a form and stay in the earth until the point Vishnu takes an avatara. And it is Vishnu's job to protect the earth, the world. And therefore we all know, every time there is too much of injustice, then Vishnu will take a form and will come and combat that injustice and restore dharma. So we have seen that, right? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuktanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham. So he will take birth. And every birth, what is the goal of that? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he will protect those who are following the path of dharma. He will make sure that he will destroy anybody who is not following the path of dharma, who is swaying from that path, and he will restore the dharma. That is the whole goal. So the intent was that the form that is there will be in the earth until Vishnu takes that birth, and then when Vishnu's birth happens, this will merge into Vishnu. That energy will merge into Vishnu. So that was the goal, and that's how Trikūṭa was born. So now Trikūṭa is in the seashore meditating, and the goal is to merge with Vishnu. So at that time, this is now Rama Avatara, and Rama has lost Sita. Sita was abducted by Ravana, and Rama is going in search of Sita. At that time, he comes near the sea, and Trikuta, who was constantly in meditation, immediately senses the presence of Vishnu. She is able to feel, and therefore she sees Rama, and then she immediately says, okay, now Vishnu, you've taken avatara. My job is to merge with you. Therefore, you marry me. And at that time, Rama says, no, in this avatara as Vishnu, my goal is to be ekapatni. So only one wife for this particular avataram, and therefore I cannot marry you, and that would not be doing justice to this avatara. So you continue to do your meditation. When I take the Kalki avatara, at that time you can merge with me. So then he names her Vaishnavi, and he says, because she was able to sense the presence of Vishnu, she was called as Vaishnavi. And therefore Rama tells her, continue your meditation, go to north, and there is Trikuta hills, and there you continue your meditation. It will increase your awareness. So then Trikuta goes to the northern part of India and goes near Jammu and Kashmir, and there are the Trikuta hills, and there in a cave she starts to do the meditation. And as the meditation is growing, she's Devi herself. So the energy is starting to dissipate to all the people around her. So in a place called Katra, there was a person called Sridhar. And this Sridhar is a poor person, but he is also a great devotee of Devi. So always is praying towards Devi. And one night in Sridhar's dream, he is able to see Trikuta. And the moment he sees Trikuta, he feels like this is Devi herself. And therefore, he is actually elated. With all his focus on Devi, suddenly he is able to see Devi. He is overjoyed. And in his joy, he wants to feed the entire town. And so he goes around telling everybody, oh, I saw Devi, and to celebrate this, I'm going to feed the entire town. And we said Sridhar is a poor person. He does not have the money to go and feed the entire town. So he goes around to the people in the town collecting money or food grains so that he can conduct this feast. And some people give him the money or some people give him the grains, but majority of the people refuse to give him anything. They all feel like he doesn't have any money. In the pretext of feeding the entire town, he's simply collecting everything and he'll keep it for himself. So they don't trust him, so they don't give. Now, the date of the feast has come closer. He has already told everybody to come and he has no money. So Sridhar is worrying every day. And now finally the day of the feast has also come. And that morning he has only a handful of grains. He hardly has any money. So he doesn't know what to do. Slowly everybody will start coming to his house. And his hut is a really small one. Cannot even accommodate everybody. So he doesn't know what to do. And then he decides his only recourse is Devi. Therefore, in his hut where he has the Devi, he starts to sit in front of her and he is going into a meditation. He's closing his eyes and constantly focusing on Devi and saying, Devi, only you have to help. Please do something. Please help. And all the people from the town start to come to his house. And then they see that he is praying towards Devi. And therefore, they make themselves comfortable. They all sit in the hut and then they see that there is food. They eat the food and they are just taking care of it. And after a while, Sridhar has finished his prayers towards Devi. And then he looks around. He's really surprised to see that the entire town is in his hut. It is a small hut. So he's surprised. How did they all fit into this hut? And then it's seen that everybody was also fed. He had only a handful of grains and he had cooked that. But somehow that was enough for everybody. So he is completely surprised as to how did this happen. And at that time, he sees Trikuta walking out of his hut. And so he realizes that Devi he saw is actually present and that is the one who came and made all this happen. So Sridhar is completely elated and now his wish is to really find out where this Devi is. So he is continuing to pray. In the meantime, in the same town, there were all the people came for the feast. There was a tantric called Bhairona. And this Bhairona also noticed all of that. He's a tantric, so he can sense all this energy. And he also notices it, and he sees Trikuta going, and he realizes there is something special about this person, and therefore I have to go find out. So tantrics are always about raising their energy, so he wants to go figure out what this is and tap that energy. And so he's following her, and he loses her midway, but he doesn't stop there. He's searching for her in the Trikuta hills, and finally he finds her in a cave. When he sees her in a cave, he's looking at Trikuta, and he's mesmerized by the beauty of Trikuta. Now, when he followed, he wanted to understand how to elevate the energy. But now, when he has seen her, he's fallen in love with her, or he's lusting after her, and he really wants to marry her. So he's now pressurizing her to marry. And Trikuta keeps changing many caves. She's trying to avoid Bhairona. She's saying, no, I cannot marry you. This is not my path. My path is different. So please don't trouble me. Don't come behind me. But Bhairona is not letting go. And how many ever caves she's changing, he's going on finding her. Finally, once when she is in a particular cave, Bhairona approaches her, and he is trying to pull her. At that time, Trikuta really shows who she is. She takes the Mahakali form, and then she cuts off Bhaironath's head. And at the point that she was cutting off the head, Bhaironath realized that this was the Shakti, and he had been going after Shakti and asking Shakti to marry. So he understood the folly of this whole thing, and he asked for her forgiveness, and therefore she said that he could reside outside the cave. And then Trikuta turned herself into 3 stones we call as pindis. So in the same cave where she was, she became 3 stones, each stone representing Mahakali, Mahalakshmi and Mahasaraswati. Today we know that as Vaishṇavī. So Vaishṇavī is in the Trikuta hills near Jammu and Kashmir. From Katra, it is about 12 kilometers. If you trek, then you can reach Vaishṇavī. It is said that Sridhar was constantly praying, asking to look at the Trikuta again, and then finally one day it came in his dream, and he was the one who found this particular cave. Millions of tourists go there every year, and it is snow covered. It's a difficult trek. It's not easy, but people who have bhakti towards Vaishṇavī are all trekking every year. With Vaishṇavī, it's not just enough that we decide that we want to go see Vaishṇavī. It is important that Vaishṇavī decides that she wants to see us. So only when the time is appropriate, she will call us. That's called as bulava. So only when the goddess calls us, we can go. But she is a very generous goddess. No matter what our desires are, whatever you ask, she will give that. So she is called as Mu Mangi Murade Puri Karne Wali. Whatever comes out of your mouth, she will satisfy all of those. So that's the story of Vaishṇavī, who was named as Vaishṇavī by Rama, and who is in Jammu Kashmir. That's all for today. Thank you.